I had two main goals with this project. One, to learn about indie game marketing and to sort of use this as practice, and two, share what I learned with you guys because marketing indie games is a lot harder than making them. I don't expect to make money off this project, I'm just trying to learn more about how indie game marketing actually works as someone who does want to make money off indie games eventually in the future. So for this video, we're actually going to be focusing more on the marketing side rather than the development side. If you're more interested in the development side, don't worry, there's plenty of resources out there. So in making our game, we're going to be focusing on the idea of marketing-driven development. That is, the idea of starting to sell your game before you even open up a new project in Unity. Essentially, step one is to create a game idea that is actually going to be easy to sell in the first place, something that will catch people's attention easily, something that people are actually going to want to play. That said, I didn't really want to limit my creativity, but I did know that I had to take a few things into consideration. First of all, hyper-unique games like The Outer Wilds or The Stanley Parable, they're going to sell well naturally, they're a killer idea. But this project is a lot smaller in scope, and because of the nature of the course, it's going to end up being a lot more mechanics light and story driven. So I had to get people's attention a different way, relying on making the game visually striking, using art that would be either easy to make or easy to acquire, but also look great. The key is uniqueness. Since I'm following David's course here, I know a lot of other people will be making very similar games. David recommends using free assets from the Unity Asset Store, which is actually great because anything you do to save time is always a win. The idea here is that you modify the assets to fit your unique art style, to make it your own. But I've already seen at least one game using the same exact assets that he did in the course. It doesn't take a genius to realize that seeing dozens of games with polygonal terrain and pixelated skyscrapers will make the average gamer think these are all just rehashed clones of each other. And they'd be right. Following the course so exactly would have had me ending up ruining the entire point of modifying the assets to make them my own because everyone's modifying them the same way. So since I have experience with a somewhat unique art style from my main project, Tempered Flames, I wanted to integrate that toon look into this project. I created a terrain, and initially I did try to make it look a lot more like the game that David made in the course, using that polygonal shader for the landscape, but eventually I realized that it wasn't going to work for what I was trying to do. I played around with toon shaders, and I was blown away by the way that the toon shaded rocks looked with the normal map texture that came with them. These rocks came from an asset pack that I had from an old project, but the toon shader I bought. I was beginning to see how the game would look, especially after adding a beautiful stylized skybox. All I needed now was water. I had a lot of trouble with the water at first. I tried a few different assets before finally going with the flat kit stylized shader, which after struggling with one of the settings and dealing with an odd bug where the water had a big white rectangle in it, I finally got it working and it looked amazing. Now, I should mention that I did go a little bit outside of the bounds of the course with this project, spending a bit of money on some of these assets. David encourages his students to use free assets for this game, but since I'll probably be using a lot of these for Tempered Flames anyway, I'm not too worried about it. But for an experimental practice game like this, I would definitely recommend to keep your budget lower, or like zero. But okay, so I have a beautiful landscape, I added a couple bits of scenery here and there, and it looks great, I would say. But the game isn't even close to done, like I don't even know the story, I don't really know what the gameplay is going to be like exactly. But going back to that idea of marketing-driven development, I can actually already start showing it off. I took a few screenshots and posted them to Twitter, and they did okay compared to what I usually get, but I already made some major marketing mistakes here. Motion always catches the human eye's attention more than a static image. And on Twitter, if you post GIFs, they actually play automatically. So you always want to be posting GIFs instead of boring static screenshots, no matter how good your screenshots look. GIFs are easy to make, just record some game footage, save it as an MP4, upload it to EasyGIF, and you're set. The link to that's going to be in the description. Also, don't be afraid to spam a few extra hashtags in your tweets. This seemed to actually work pretty well for me. I was kind of worried that it would come off as like spammy, but it seemed to work just fine. You can check the current most popular ones pretty easily with a quick Google search. I did eventually start using GIFs later on in the project. This crazy fade effect I made got a lot of attention, so I knew that worked well as a hook. And if you have a longer marketing time, you can pay attention to which GIFs work better and which ones don't work as well. By the way, I made that effect by using the burning shader I had in Tempered Flames for inspiration, and the rest was pretty simple. The difficult part was figuring out the timing, like how long the effect should take, at what point it should start, stuff like that to just nail that sort of atmospheric, dream-like sense. Alright, so we still don't have a game, but the foundations of a story are beginning to kind of come together. Now when it comes to story, if there's anything I learned from Disney Star Wars, it's that all you need to get people to pay you is flashy visuals and cheap emotional manipulation. We got the first first point more or less nailed, now I just have to figure out how to pull people's heartstrings. The story of David's game in the course is kind of revealed through a couple voice lines here and there as you explore the world and interact with objects, so my game will handle story much the same way. I don't actually make enough money on my games to really be a corporate sellout just yet, so thankfully I can happily put my heart and soul into the story of this game. The story actually ended up being quite meaningful and pretty cathartic to me personally, and it's essentially about trying to tell the difference between memories and idealized imagined dreams. It actually felt strangely really good for me to make this game, kind of like I was able to get something off my chest, so that was a big plus of this project as well. But when it comes to selling your game, having that sincere and relatable story can really get people's attention and win their appreciation. With my main project too, one of my key focuses is telling a story and sending a message that I believe is important. So I would always say that you should drive the motivation behind your game with that message that you want to tell. Not only does it make your art more valuable, but it'll also 100% increase your motivation and your commitment to getting your game finished. But okay, honestly, a game can't just be story, right? If you want to do that, just go make a short film. No, a game has to be interactive. It needs to make use of player choice and discovery, which is an element unique to video games as a storytelling medium. So since all I had was a story, and I knew that the gameplay would be super simplistic, I had to figure out the best way to incorporate that interactive element. I did two main things. One, I added a sense of mystery. After finishing the game, the story won't actually be fully revealed to the player. They'll have to make up their own mind about which dreams they thought were real memories and which ones they thought were just idealized versions of reality. And two, and this is the real kicker, I made the order of discovery of events non-linear, which also adds to the mystery, but it also allows the player to explore the world in their own way, and maybe even find unintended shortcuts. The more choice that you can give to your players, the better. And in this case, that comes in the form of choosing which landmark to find first. Now, what I definitely won't be able to do is throw walls of text at the player and have them read it. I need to keep the attention of as many players as possible, and unfortunately most players don't really want to play games to read. And since I'm following David's course, I knew that I would have to record voice lines. I've only done this twice before and in much more limited ways. So needless to say, I was kind of nervous. Here's what I came up with. Dear Scarlett, I heard about what happened. I'm so sorry. I wish I could have been there. I should have been there. It wasn't perfect, there were still some audio glitches that I didn't really know how to fix, but I did get some really good feedback about how to actually improve audio quality in the future. That's another thing, have people play your games before you release them. I got two of my friends to play the final version of the game, and they pointed out tons of little issues that I would never have noticed otherwise. I can confidently say that because of their help, Unwritten Dreams is the most polished game that I have ever released. So thanks guys, seriously. Okay, so the game is pretty much done at this point, but remember, a finished game by itself is useless if your goal is to make money making games. I knew that I needed to be consistently posting GIFs to social media to get attention. To be honest, after making this game, I can confidently say that a month of marketing is nowhere near enough time, or at least it wasn't for me. When you're making a big game project, you want to draw people's attention to either wishlist the game on Steam or send them to an email list. That way Steam will actually be more likely to promote your game. This game was going up on itch.io, and I have no clue what metrics itch uses to showcase their games. This brings me to my second mistake. I didn't research the very platform on which I was planning to release. What I did end up doing was posting a release announcement on the itch forums, and to be honest, I don't know if it helped that much. But okay, launch day is drawing near. I've had one majorly successful GIF on Reddit and Imgur, all the others totally flopped. Twitter did okay though. A week before launch, I made my game's trailer and announced the release date and title, Unwritten Dreams. I was really proud of this trailer even though it wasn't perfect, and I was really surprised after having shared it on Discord that the one and only Thomas Brush gave me some feedback. He had also seen my stupid impression of him in an earlier video and seemed to appreciate that, so that's pretty cool. I'm very much not an expert on creating game trailers, but I wanted to make sure that I was being honest in it and not overselling the game so that the results actually match the player's expectations. If you overhype your game, it's your fault for getting bad reviews. Cyberpunk. So I used the scenes from the GIFs that did the best, added some new ones, showed the simple gameplay, and with the voiceover I tried to make it very clear that the game was largely story driven and simple. So I thought as long as people who enjoy these types of games see the trailer and see the game, there's a good chance they'll take a look and enjoy the experience. So, it's finally launch day and there is a lot to do. First of all, actually publish your game, make sure you don't forget that amidst all the chaos. Then, hit all your social media targets in the morning. I posted the best gift that I could possibly make and got some more feedback from Discord for it. Always make sure you get feedback, I cannot stress that enough. I also wrote that post on the itch forums and I made sure that my donations were set up. I decided to make it donation based as David suggested in the course, and also because I didn't really want to take the gamble of having people pay for this small game, because for this simple project I'd rather get downloads than payments. Another thing that I would have done if this was a bigger game project was reach out to Game Press telling them that this new game just launched. Over the next few days I tried to keep on posting to Twitter rather consistently to kind of keep that hype going a little bit for the game. I tried a couple different strategies like asking interesting questions in my posts and also reaching out to David Whaley personally. He's actually gone out of his way several times to answer my questions personally on Discord, so I have mad respect for him for that. Anyways, he did end up retweeting me, so that's pretty cool. So ultimately, how did it go? Well, given the mistakes I had already mentioned, not spending enough time marketing and not learning the platform to secure promotion, I earned a grand total of $5 because one generous soul felt that this game was worth their money. Which even that I think is really cool. I've never made any money off of my games before, and to me, that is already a step in the right direction. And since the end goal here is going full time, it really might seem like a waste. But did I reach my goals? Yes, absolutely. I learned a ton, I got a lot of information I could now share with you guys, and I feel much more motivated and much more confident to keep working on my main project, Tempered Flames. I also kind of can't stop seeing PR and marketing tricks everywhere I look, be it social media, YouTubers, government, everything. Like, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but hey, it's there. But anyways, if you guys are currently working on a game, feel free to hit me up on Twitter. I'm happy to answer any questions I have to the best of my ability. In the meantime, if you're interested, please check out Unwritten Dreams and check out Tempered Flames devlogs. If you feel that this video was valuable to you, I would really appreciate it if you left a like. I did work really hard on this, so I hope you enjoyed it. And if you want to stay updated on Tempered Flames, please subscribe. I hope to see you all next time. God bless.